Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, February 23rd. From the San Antonio Express News, my name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. You can expect another beautiful sunny day in San Antonio with a high of 74 degrees. Enjoy it while you can, however, because a cold front is coming later this week with possible rains. The Bexar County Commissioners Court will meet Tuesday morning, returning to an in-person gathering after holding its last two regular meetings virtually. We have a look at what's on the agenda over at expressnews.com. The Supreme Court has rejected a last-ditch effort attempted by former President Donald Trump to shield his financial records, issuing a brief, unsigned order requiring Trump's accountants to turn over his tax and other records to prosecutors in New York. And now let's move on to our top stories for the day. When the ice storm knocked out power to San Juana and Anthony Lehman's northwest side home last week, they lit their gas fireplace to stay warm. That Monday night, 65-year-old San Juana slept on a couch under blankets and besides the fireplace with her rescue dogs, including 5 chihuahuas, helping her to keep warm. The next day, her daughter showed up and sounded the alarm. Her house was one of the 130 structure fires to which San Antonio firefighters responded last week, more than 6 times as many blazes as usual. One of the blazes was fatal. Firefighters struggled with icy roads and water access. Brian Chasnoff has more on the city's fires in his latest article. It was 3 a.m. in Mayor Ron Nirenberg's house. Mulberry, a large boxer who usually sleeps at the foot of the mayor's bed, was startled by the beeping and chirping of a surge protector and a smoke alarm, both of which had lost power. The Nirenberg family suffered through the same recurring power outages as other San Antonio residents, sleeping in the freezing cold for the next 2 nights. The mayor of the country's 7th largest city hadn't been told by state utility officials that the power grid was on the brink of collapse. As temperatures plunged, the rolling blackout started. Brian Chasnoff and Marina Starley-Freiker take a closer look at how it all happened in their latest article. Elena Ayala writes, quote, San Antonio community organizers and activists are a fierce bunch. They work at the grassroots level for modest pay, usually for nonprofits whose commitment is just as fierce. Organizers usually don't get much attention. Last week, as they assisted the most vulnerable among us, they should have. Before most bureaucrats and elected officials had gotten out of bed, organizers, activists, and advocates of all kinds were on the front lines of the winter storm. Read Elena Ayala's full column to find out why activists feel emboldened by the events of the past week. When a winter storm caused by a disruption in the polar vortex sent San Antonio temperatures to sub-freezing, critical utility services buckled under record demand. A humanitarian crisis escalated within hours of the first power outage. We have a day-by-day look at what happened over at expressnews.com. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside of your Express News subscription. CPS Energy customers won't see dramatically higher monthly bills stemming from last week's winter storm, at least not yet. Determining the extent of the financial hit, which includes a runaway cost of natural gas, could take weeks. The snow hadn't even completely melted before lawsuits began cropping up against the Electric Reliability Council of Texas over its response to the winter storm that socked the state last week. San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg and philanthropist Gordon Hartman urge residents to donate to a pair of emergency funds aimed at providing financial assistance to those hit hard by the winter storm. After a week of canceled classes due to freezing temperatures and utility outages, San Antonio schools started to reopen Monday, but with a few new hurdles in a year already made difficult by the pandemic. San Antonio officials reported a lower positivity rate and few new coronavirus cases Monday, but testing was significantly disrupted last week as residents contended with severe winter weather and widespread power and water outages. Last week's winter storm has delayed a shipment of COVID-19 vaccines meant to be used for Tuesday's appointments at the Alamo Dome. People who were set to receive their second dose Tuesday have now been rescheduled for Thursday. 5 water distribution sites at pump stations in San Antonio will remain open for a few more days to help people dealing with broken water pipes, according to a spokesman for the San Antonio water system on Monday. Trinity University history professor Carrie Lattimore hopes to begin a new third way of talking about the Alamo and the Texas Revolution, acknowledging slavery as part of a larger number of issues, but not the main reason for the War of Independence from Mexico. 2 San Antonio police officers were disciplined in December for behavior related to domestic violence, the latest in a handful of high-profile cases involving law enforcement. While millions of Texans languished in their homes last week without heat, many of them racking up astronomical electricity bills, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton left the state to meet with a fellow attorney general in Utah for a previously planned meeting. An estimated 151 continuous hours of freezing temperatures last week damaged plants and trees in ways that, unlike with hurricanes and tornadoes, might not be fully known for weeks or months to come. Ezekiel Zeke Mendoza, a trustee in the Harlandale Independent School District, has died. The district made the announcement on Monday. Mendoza represented District 3 on the board for 12 years. He was 61. Steak 'n Shake, owned by San Antonio's Biglari Holdings, alleges in a lawsuit that its confidential information was used by a New York investment firm to plot a takeover of the struggling restaurant chain. Texas exports more than any other state, but maintaining that crown will not be easy, writes business columnist Chris Tomlinson. Read his latest column to find out why. There are missing animal websites and groups across the nation, such as PetAmberAlert.com and the Missing Animal Response Network. In Texas, there are several lost and found websites that include Lost Dogs of Texas, Pet Search and Rescue, Pet Harbor, and Finding Rover. Some of the groups are high-tech. The Animal Defense League of Texas and the city's animal care services use facial recognition software and microchip identification to locate lost pets. But 8-year-old Charlotte Hartman's skills are strictly human, and maybe part canine and part feline. She uses her wits, powered by passion. Since the spread of the coronavirus pandemic, the second grader has had more time to take on cases of lost pets in her community. Read more about the youngster who has earned the nickname Paw Patrol in Vincent Davis' latest San Antonio Stories. Before the COVID-19 pandemic prematurely ended last season, Reagan was the state's top-ranked Class 6A team and was aiming for a third state tournament appearance in 4 seasons. This year's hopes are equally high, with the Rattlers returning several players on our preseason watch list. But Reagan will face fierce competition within its own district. David Hinojosa has more over at expressnews.com. Snow angels, stick-armed snowmen, frosty dog paw prints, the Arctic blast allowed San Antonians' creativity to show. Other uses for snow, like melting it to drink or store food from the fridge, were dicier. Paul's Cooking Tips explores food safety in Snowmageddon. The Spurs remain on track to resume their coronavirus-interrupted season Wednesday in OKC, but could have as few as 9 healthy bodies with which to do it. High school basketball playoffs are underway in Texas. Catch up on all the latest action in girls and boys hoops over at expressnews.com. And that's all for today. This was your Express Briefing for Tuesday, February 23rd. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast inside of your Apple Podcast app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful day, everyone.